Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of the Role Model Show. We are live on YouTube, so ping a friend and get them to join in. I'm so excited because, it's taken 11 years to get here, but that's another day's story. This show will empower young people in so many ways. You get to know more about different industries. You get to learn from the experience of entrepreneurs, CEOs, and others from the C-suite. And ultimately, it will help you with your career choices. And by the way, the Role Model Show comes monthly for just 45 minutes. My name is Abena Osei-Poku. I'm the Managing Director of Absa Bank Ghana and the Chairperson of the Ghana Stock Exchange. I also chair the College of Health Sciences. And this show is my way of giving back by bringing business leaders to the doorstep of young people. My guest today has over 30 years experience in technology. She's worked in Ghana and other places in Africa and across the world for several institutions. She is currently the West African manager of C-Squared, a joint venture with the superstar tech company Google. So it's only appropriate that my first interview with a tech lead is using new age technology. So welcome, Estelle Akofio-Sowa. So happy to have you on the show.
Thanks, Abena, and I'm super glad to be here joining you from Liberia. So that shows you what technology can do for us.
Absolutely. And thank you so much again, Estelle, for agreeing to be my first guest on the Role Model Show. So Estelle, tell us about yourself, focusing on where you are now, and how would you describe your role to a young person who doesn't even work in the tech industry?
Yeah, and I love that question because I think I'm a great representation of you don't actually have to be technical to be in this sector. Technology cuts across all aspects of life, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. So you can be in agriculture, you can be in medicine, you could be a lawyer, you could be in the banking sector, and still be using technology. So technology, like all sectors, requires people that are passionate about people. That's what fills up our HR departments. It needs people that are passionate about selling and marketing, people that run operations. And that's what really I am. I'm the glue in the team, that keeps everyone from the technology to the sales team, keeps them in harmony working together. I tell my team always I'm like a conductor, just telling when the people with the deep voices should sing, when those with the high voices should sing, and I make sure that together, we make beautiful music and run successful businesses, make our shareholders and our customers happy. A little bit about me, I have my 3 Ps. Now, if you were talking to me, Abena, when I was in my teens or my early 20s even, I didn't know about my 3 Ps. But today, as a woman that's just turned 50, I absolutely know my 3 Ps, and they are prayer, the first thing in the morning before my feet hit the ground. And I love this saying, I want the devil, when my feet hit the ground, I want him to say, oh no, this child of God is up and she's going to be doing God's work today. Patience, we have to be super patient in life, and in particular on the African continent, things do take time, things are frustrating. So you have to exercise patience, and I know as we grow, that becomes easier in life. And perseverance, again, nothing comes easy. I never give up on an opportunity or an idea. I love my mom for just teaching me that boredom isn't an option in life. What's going on in our heads, what our eyes can see, is enough that we should never be bored. And so I persevere when I have an idea, when I think I want to achieve something. It might look like I've gone to sleep on the idea, but trust me, I'm still working on it, and everything happens in God's time, and when it happens, it's the best time. So those are my 3 my 3 Ps. I also am very much a people person, and I thrive on recognizing the value in others. And I know that we're going to talk later on about how I got to where I am today. And it's really all about someone giving me a chance, someone recognizing the value in me and giving me an opportunity to lead an organization, and I've gone on to lead several organizations since my wonderful start at Busy Internet that I know many people in Ghana know about. So that's just a snippet of me. Otherwise, I'm half Ghanaian. That's from my dad's side, and half Scottish. I know everyone in Ghana knows about Rawlings, so being half Ghanaian and half Scottish is not rare to Ghana. That's a little bit about my background. Grew up predominantly in Ghana. I'm very passionate about Ghana and transforming our country. At this time, we need everyone to be passionate about Ghana, and I know we're cheering on the Black Stars in a couple hours or in just an hour's time as well. So just a sneak peek into Estelle's life, and I have 2 beautiful children. I have a 21-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter that make me look small because they're both super tall and gorgeous. I'm so happy and so proud of them and, the people they're growing up to be.
Wow, thank you so much, Estelle, for that very nice and warm intro. And yes, the 3 Ps, I think there are 4 now, actually, because you added a people person to the first 3. And I identify with all those. I'm sure our audience would like to know what motivated you to even choose digital technology as a profession, and what skills and competencies have been the most beneficial to you?
Yeah. Great question. I mean, I studied economics and development studies. I grew up in a time when technology wasn't the norm. I was not born with a chip in my brain as our children are today. And after I finished my first degree, I came back to Ghana knowing that I wanted to work in the development sector. I thought I would probably be in the World Bank or something by now. If anyone from the World Bank is listening, that's still a desire of mine. Never waste an opportunity, people. And so I came back to Ghana to work in the development sector, and I started off my career working on the National Poverty Reduction Program, and it took me out into various communities in Ghana, trying to understand what people's needs were and how the government could support them with the support of donors to grow small businesses, to start up schools and hospitals in their communities, recognizing the value of what God had naturally given them and how that could be converted into resources that would benefit the community. And really, I stumbled across technology. I did really well in an interview, but I didn't get the job. This was for another company. And so when Mark Davies, who founded Busy, he was working with an agency that had interviewed me for that other role. He was looking for someone to run his programs out of Busy that would help introduce technology to people. And, Ghana, Busy started in 2000, I think, roughly. I joined in 2001. And so technology was a very different world then. And at Busy, we used to take everyone onto the rooftop to show them the big satellite dish. Most homes or offices, if they had a connection, had a dial-up. We didn't have smartphones. We didn't have email as we do today. We didn't use Google Maps to drive around, tell us where to go. I mean, I was just in the UK recently, and I was just wondering how my mom ever got us from point A to B, and used to open these big paper maps. And that is how you would drive around an area you didn't know. So I got into technology by performing well in an interview. As I said, it didn't get me that job, but it kept the agency remembered me. And I joined Busy, really running the program. So we used to run a weekly IT event. Again, at the Tech Talks and so on were not the norm as they are today. Busy had conference rooms that Ghana's IT policies were developed out of. And I meet so many people today that tell me their first email, typically a Yahoo or Hotmail email, We help them create in Busy. And that's how my journey started. And I think one of my biggest learning lessons is about leaning in, and being bold even when we're scared inside. And I often see myself as a duck. I might look all calm and collected up above, but trust me, my feet are paddling madly underneath, to keep me afloat, on top of my tasks, etc. So when Mark Davies told me he was looking for a managing director and if I could recommend anyone, well, I bluffed my way and I said, I think I would do a great job. He gave me that chance. I went through interviews and ended up running Busy for 8 years, and the rest is kind of history. So, yes, stumbling, but always giving off my best, being bold even when I'm anxious and when I know something is beyond me. I was always asked in so many interviews, how did I do it? And I always felt a little incomplete with my answer until I fully understood my relationship and love for God. And now I know it is that because He always prepares the way before me. He equips me. He speaks through me. And that's why so many times when I do things or speak publicly, people come up to me and they're like, that was great, but I know the truth inside me. I was panicking and wondering how I was going to get through it. But with God, all things are possible. I know that to be true today.
For that, Estelle. I mean, it sounds so familiar, but I am genuinely surprised that you didn't have, you did not study technology. I'd assume that most people who have a career in technology or digital obviously studied that, but it's very fascinating. And it reminds me because, I've been fascinated with tech and digital since business school in 1997. And for the lack of this, I was the last person to submit my assignment because I did it manually. Can you imagine, how times have changed,
Yes.
So Estelle,
Yes,
based
indeed.
on, absolutely, and based on your experience, what advice would you give to a young person who wants a career in this seemingly fast-paced tech and digital world? How do they get in? How do they start?
Yeah. So obviously, if you want to actually be the technical part of the technology sector, you need to make that move in your studies. But one thing you and I know to be true is many people decide later on in their lives to go into a career and start to educate themselves in that area. You can have someone that doesn't know they're going to be a lawyer and they study to be something else. And along the way, they decide to study it. And it's one of the things that through all the organizations that I've worked for, we've spent a lot of time encouraging ladies, young girls, to go into the tech field and not to feel that it's a male-dominated world. And the truth that you and I know is that most careers are male-dominated anyway. So as women, we have to be bold. And I think, I love to tell the story of me ending up being the Google country manager. And I didn't actually apply for that job. And sorry for all the men. I know there's men in Ghana that listen to me saying this repeatedly. But the day I knew that job was mine was the day I saw 8 or 9 men sitting, waiting to be interviewed, and there was no woman there. And I was like, look, this job is actually mine. And I can go in and actually stand out and be different from everyone else that they're interviewing. So for young girls listening to me, it's about being brave, and stepping forward. And I know your story is the same. You've been brave, you've been bold, and I'm sure many times your workload and the things you're responsible for are way over your head, but it's about trusting, it's about relying on others. So if you're interested in technology, don't feel nervous about the fact that you're going to be in a male-dominated classroom. To me, that actually has been a benefit many, many times, and if you're not interested in technology, but in actually being the technical person, but you're passionate about technology, and that's my passion with technology. It's about demystifying technology and really seeing how technology can solve people's problems. And so pure technical people need people like you and I alongside them, because when they go into a meeting with a customer and they're talking pure technical talk, the customer most likely doesn't understand it, but you and I are able to demystify it. We're able to understand the person's needs, the problem the person has, and therefore how technology can solve it. So I generally have a technical person by my side, but I've also built my confidence to know that I can talk about technology by understanding the person's problem, the customer's challenge, what they're wanting to solve. I understand how technology can work, and I'm able to explain that. But also that you don't have to know all the answers, and you can go into a meeting with a customer and say, I've understood your need, and now I'm going to go and go back to my technical team and come back to you with the solution. So we don't always have to have all the answers all the time, and that's okay. And I know that's easier the higher up you are to say that. You and I can say that and know that we're pulling a whole team behind us. But I think it's the truth for everyone. Once you are professional, polite, and once you come back on time, you say, I'll come back to you tomorrow. Make sure you come back tomorrow with the answer. So, that's what I say to young people is don't feel like you can't be a director if you're not really a technical person. You can be in all the other parts of the world of a career and still participate in this wonderful sector of technology. I'm in Liberia today, and I'm hoping that my internet is working well. Sometimes I'm seeing a few pauses on the camera, but I hope you're hearing me clearly. Great. Good.
Really clear. But thanks for that, Estelle. It's very interesting what you said about, one not starting, with technology, but switching, because definitely, a lot of people always think about what else can I do? And then sometimes they just box themselves based on what they've studied. So this gives a lot of hope. But, now that you're already in that industry, you've told us how you got in, but how does one get to the top in the tech world? Certainly, it does look from the outside like it could be very difficult, but how do you get to the top? So let's say I'm already in the tech world now. How do I get to the top?
Yeah, so it's not easy, as you and I know. And it is about putting in lots of hours. I mean, I have worked my hours. I, for years, sleep before 2, 3 in the morning and up again at 6 with the kids. So it's not for the faint-hearted. Leadership is not for the faint-hearted. It is lonely at the top. You have a lot of responsibilities. So you do need that support network. You need to be bold. You need to be ready to cry at night. But joy comes in the morning. Building your network is super important. So going out there, I always say to my team, when I was their age, I used to just go to events, to meet people and go up and introduce myself to the speakers. I'll just be there to absorb and learn and listen. And, we all learn by example. So get out there, build a brand for yourself, and be consistent in that brand. I think people know Estelle and they know what they're going to get from Estelle. I've been consistent, throughout. So getting out there, being bold, building a network, finding out what you're passionate about, being honest always. It's so important for people to know that they can trust you and that your word is your word. And in all of that, being humble is also so important, so that you're approachable and, people like you. I know that not everyone likes me. I'm sure there's some people out there that don't, but, I'm excited about everyone I meet. I find value in everyone I meet. You know, my goal in life is to love. That's my leadership style. You know, and a lot of people come to me and say, Estelle, how does that work? How does leading through love work? You know, and if I can bring, sorry, I can't talk now without bringing my faith, but you know, God and Jesus is the best example of a leader, and he led through humility and through love. And people often say to me, but that doesn't work in Ghana, that doesn't work in Liberia, you know, in Togo. And I say, that's not true. I found it to work. You know, it has worked for me with hundreds of employees that I've worked with. And generally, of course, there's the occasional people that don't fit in my leadership style and the organizations I've worked with. But I think we spend so much time at work, you know, and our work is such a big part of our lives that we have to operate as a family. We have to care about each other. So that's my leadership style, and that's how what I think has resulted in me getting to where I am. You know, but it doesn't come easily. And I know that in every organization, there's room for one leader. So not everyone is going to be the leader. But in whatever position you are, again, everyone is participating. So even as we find ourselves in Ghana today, so focused on our leadership, yes, it is their responsibility to lead Ghana, but we're all responsible, you know. And how are each and every one of us right now going to make the decision to buy more made in Ghana products, you know, to eat Ghana rice, to use Ghana soap, you know. And I'm not wearing Ghana fabric today, so this doesn't work. But yesterday I was, you know, how can we all participate in transforming our economy and bringing our economy out of where it is? So even if you aren't the leader of an organization, if you're the cleaner, that organization isn't going to work if it isn't clean. You know, if you run the kitchen, if everyone isn't well fed, they're not going to be as productive. If you're responsible for the electricity, the power, if the lights aren't on, the organization isn't going to work. So, you know, each and every one of us has our leadership role, and we're experiencing it in whatever position we're in. So you've got to give your best, you know, and you've got to step forward, lean forward, and put yourself forward for more work, to take on more responsibilities, make yourself available, even if you're not getting paid for that extra work, you know, take it on. And I know you might be looking at me and thinking, oh, it's easy for her to say that, but you know, it isn't easy. And I still work super, super hard. You know, I still put in lots of hours. I juggle multiple roles because I enjoy working. I know some of my friends think I'm a bit of a workaholic, but I think that's why I'm here, you know, and again, to bring my faith into it, I think that this is what God wants me to be doing, you know, and therefore I have to give my very best and do everything that comes my way. So yes is my default. My default answer is to say yes, you know, to things that come my way. And that's how I am, and that's the advice I give others. I know it's the same for you.
It is actually, and thanks a lot for that, Estelle. You know, I like what you said about, you know, it can be lonely at the top, but also you can start leading before you get to the top. I think those are my two key takeaways. Wherever you are, you can work with everybody in your team and begin to lead. But Estelle, I could go on with my questions because your experience actually excites me. But I think I want to pause and take questions from my audience. So I'm grabbing my iPad. And then, since it's an interactive show, just check in now. So I have a first question coming from Christabel. So Christabel is asking, what emerging technology are you most optimistic about and why? She also wants to know, how should a young person prepare for this opportunity? So over to you, Estelle. Did you hear the question from Christabel?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Hi, Christabel, and thanks for your question. I love your name. My dad's name he's passed away, Christopher. So You know, again, it's all those little things God sends us to just make us smile through the day's challenges that I like to recognize. So, emerging technology, there are so many of them, but, you know, I love our ability, you know, the whole fintech sector, and our ability to make payments around the world, from wherever we are, the ability to order online wherever we are, you know, is to me so transformative to small businesses. So I think that's what first comes to my mind to answer that question. And it's really breaking down. Hey, and I know this whole program is being run out of a bank, and I know the fintech sector is giving the banks a challenge. But indeed, we need everyone to be able to transact, and our traditional ways of having bank accounts and so on doesn't necessarily work for everyone, isn't able to reach everyone. So I do think that that's an exciting part of technology and the finance sector coming together. Of course, artificial intelligence, you know, is just solving huge problems that we're facing, and bringing technology really to meet people's needs. So I think that's what I would talk about preparing. I think we've already touched on it. I think maybe the only thing I would just add, and we're probably going to talk about it, you know, we need to love ourselves, you know, and I know it's difficult, and I thank God every day for the loving, humble parents that I was, you know, gifted to, and that brought me up. To not complicate my mind. They made life simple at home. They loved me. They embraced me. They encouraged me. My dad, in particular, allowing me to hang out in his office, pretend I was doing business cases for him. Even my love for politics. My dad was sorry, I have to correct that. I don't love politics. I love Ghana and governance. You know, I would love to work in government and be part of leading Ghana. And yeah, all of that, I give thanks to my dad opening his office door to me. My mom was a teacher, so again, she taught me a lot of my leadership skills. So you need to love yourself. They taught me to love myself, to be proud of myself. And even when the world is bashing you and not being so kind, not encouraging you, you know, to have that place I could come back to and be encouraged and appreciated, you know, and that carries me through today. I think that's just what I would add, is just the ability, you know, remembering to love yourself.
Much for that, Estelle. You know, certainly I'm learning to love myself more and more each day. But Joseph is also asking, what is the most difficult thing you've had to do in your career, and how did you deal with it?
Well, I'm going to give two answers.
Okay.
Because the first thing that came to my mind, which probably isn't what, was it Joseph, did you say?
Joseph, yes.
Joseph, yeah, Joseph. So hi, Joseph. So the first thing that came in my mind when you asked me that question was the many sacrifices I've had to make with my children. You know, often not being, it's one of the reasons why I actually enjoyed the COVID period and lockdown. It was the first time I was at home, you know, for so long with my kids. I had dinner with them every night. I cooked with them, you know, and I haven't had that opportunity because I generally got home after 7, 8 p.m. I'd be tired. It was bedtime, or there was homework to be done. So that's difficult, and you constantly feel torn. My second child just decided she was going to go to boarding school, and left me 2 years earlier than I had expected to have her leave home. It's not been easy for me to have an empty nest, as they say. But I understand it's just a new phase in life and a new opportunity for me to get back to focusing on me. And it's the first time I'm experiencing traveling for work, as I've traveled this week to Liberia, and I'm not feeling torn that I've left my kids at home. So a lot of sacrificing with kids and family because work was demanding my time so much. So that's the first challenge. That's the first thing that came to my mind. But I think another very challenging time for me has been my current role at C Squared. And C Squared is an organization that was born out of Google to build open access broadband networks. So Africa today has multiple undersea cables that land on the coast. Ghana has at least 5 that land on the coast. And the challenge is how to move the internet that these cables bring to our coast to the base stations that our mobile phones connect to our homes and our enterprises, to ATMs, to security cameras. That's been the challenge. And typically that infrastructure has been built by mobile operators to serve their own needs. And it's very CapEx intensive. And so an open access infrastructure provider, which is what C Squared is, really addresses that challenge and takes on the CapEx responsibility and the operations and maintenance responsibility, really allowing the service providers to focus on the service to the user, giving to the end user. And so birthing that organization out of Google and rolling it out from one market, which was the original market in Uganda, to today we're in Ghana as well, Liberia, Togo, DRC, and Kenya, has also been very challenging to set up an organization from scratch, set up our whole HR procedures, develop our whole culture of the organization, our brand, all our operational manuals, to closing deals, getting licenses. I have never had to be so on my toes consistently, and at the same time generate revenue and grow revenue. And it's been very challenging but very exciting, and I'm very proud of what the team and I have achieved in West Africa. And we actually just got a mention from President Biden at the G20, and that's a partnership with USAID that Rochelle, who's the Liberian country manager, and I have been working on for years. And I'm so proud that it's 2 women, 2 African women, 2 strong African women, that are going to be building a backbone to connect Liberia to Ivory Coast and Guinea. And so, it's been a very challenging but fulfilling. And that's the thing with challenges, is that they're also very fulfilling when you conquer them. So don't be afraid of challenges.
Congratulations on that mention from President Biden. And
yes,
clearly you're doing something real good. So keep that up. I have questions from Kukwa. Kukwa wants to know, what book should she read to get to the top? And what's your leadership philosophy? So that's coming from Kukwa. The books you should read and your leadership philosophy.
Yes, leadership philosophy. And I'm quickly scribbling as well, because these days the brain is works at a different pace. I've got so many filing cabinets in my brain. My brain often has to think, which file are we meant to go into? Kukwa, the worst question you could possibly ask me, because I am not the best book reader. And today the book I read the most is Bible, that I read every morning. I'm terrible at reading books, Kukwa. I buy books, I read the summary, I read the first chapter. I very quickly, I'm all about my heart. I think this partly answers the second question. I'm all about my heart. So very quickly, when I pick up a book, I just pick up nuggets out of it. And I'm more about how I feel. And I'll never remember the name of the book that I've read. I can just put it down and I can't remember because my brain doesn't store, my heart stores. That's the information I remember, is what aligns with my heart. How has that inspired my heart, to be a better person, not only for myself, but for all the people that I'm going to encounter, the challenges in life that I'm going to encounter. I can watch a movie on a plane and get off the movie, and someone can ask me, which movie did you watch? And I'm like, ah! I didn't even pay attention to what movie it was, what was the name of the movie, but I can tell you what it was, and I can tell you what I took away. So, Kuko, I'm super sorry. The book that I always remember the name of is Lean In, and guess what? I only read the first chapter, but I always talk about leaning in, so I remember the name of it. So my apology, I'm not the best person to ask that question. I read a lot on my phone, articles, about technology and development, about Africa, about emotional intelligence, how to be a better person, how to be happy, how to find, because we can't be happy always, but how to find joy in life always.
Awesome.
And I think that kind of answers the leadership philosophy as well. I believe in everyone. There's value in everyone. Everyone is being created for a person. Everyone is unique and gifted. And so for me as a leader, my responsibility is to be able to understand that gift that person has, and to give them that platform and space that they can bloom and bring it out and go, after their time with me.
Thanks for that, Estelle. I think Kukwa, it should be comfortable with the answer. We still have lots of questions, but I think I can take maybe 2 or 3 more. So Nana's asking, and I'll do this very quickly, how do you rebrand yourself for the next step? So I think Nana wants to understand how she can rebrand herself, I guess, for her next level. So if you could give us a quick answer to that for Nana, and then I'll take one final, or maybe 2 quick ones.
Yeah. So, Nana talked about rebranding, and I said earlier that I think you should develop a brand and nurture it, and refine it. So not necessarily rebranding, but refining it and sort of enhancing it and developing that consistency so that people know that that's what you represent, this is what you believe in, what you're passionate about, and this is what they're going to consistently get from you. And it can be in many things. So even like I have my 3 Ps, that I can talk about everywhere. So thinking about things like that and being able to articulate what represents you, understanding what you're passionate about, and again, being able to articulate it. Even the way we dress, the way we present ourselves, that's our brand. What are people, when people see us, what are they going to see, think? Because people are making assumptions all the time. We don't even have to open our mouths, and they've already assumed a lot about us. So yeah, you actually have to develop a brand and think about what you represent. How can you articulate it? How do you look? And I don't want to put pressure on women about how they look. I have my short natural hair, and I know so many more women are going this way. You can jump in and out of the shower and move. And I've never regretted it. I've had this short hair for so long. I actually thought during COVID maybe I was going to be able to grow it, but it looks like my hair has decided it isn't growing even if I give it the chance. So that's what I would say. But think about it. Be aware that we do need to have a brand. We need to represent something and actually build it and be able to articulate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And our final question is from Nobu. Nobu wants to understand, do you see potential greenfields for creating new technologies in Africa? And if you do, what are some of the investments available? I think this definitely has to be our last question. So my apologies to the rest who I couldn't read those questions, but yes. So if you can take that last question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, the world has so many challenges, and that's what technology is. It's a challenge solver, it's a problem solver, it's an enabler. And so the greenfield opportunities are huge. I'm a pig farmer on the side. It's my side hustle. My mom grew up on a farm, so farming is part of my love. And I've just learned, Abena, how challenging it is for small farmers in Ghana. And I think there's a lot that technology could do to help us improve the way we run our farms, how we feed our animals, you know, etc. So I think technology, how we water our crops, there's so much that technology can do in that field. In healthcare, in education, I mean, I think it's endless, the opportunities that we have for technology to solve Africa's problems. And if I ever become the Minister of Communication for Ghana, one of my definite key moves is going to be seeing how we can have ourselves a nation of developers, of coders, that can actually build so that we can build technology for ourselves to solve our problems, because indeed Africa's challenges are somewhat unique. And each African country's challenges are slightly different, and the way people embrace the technology and use it is definitely different. We have our cultural differences, etc., that we need to be aware of. So that would be one of my moves if I ever become Minister of Communication.
Great. So I'm just getting a signal that we have only 5 minutes to go. So is there a message you'd want to share with our viewers, perhaps something we haven't touched on at all, which you think is really important that you'd like to pass on?
Well, I think I've touched on it probably, but I'll just say, do you see how smartly I used this interview, not only hopefully to give some golden nuggets to you, but I let everyone that's listening today and that will ever listen know that I wouldn't mind being the Minister of Communication. I wouldn't mind working for the World Bank. So as to everyone listening, you know, use every opportunity, of course, and again, in a humble and a fair way, you know, to benefit yourself so that you can not only benefit yourself, but benefit your family and the world around you. So take every opportunity, grab it with both hands, and, you know, milk it. So, and I just thank you so much for having me on the show, and I wish the show the very best.
Thank you so much, Estelle. You know, I can't stop laughing because I'm also going to use every opportunity that I get. You know, I think that was an excellent point, you know, to end on. But thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. And I'm sure our audience have learnt a lot from you as well. It's a shame we couldn't go on much longer, but we will take some of the other questions next time. So to our viewers, thank you so much for joining in. And thank you for making this 11-year-old dream a reality. Thanks again, Estelle. Thank you, viewers, and see you in December.
Pleasure.